Hello, everybody. Welcome back to New York Talk. This is the Scouting Report, where we look ahead to the next opponents. This time it is an inevitable away defeat, this time at Watford. We are joined by the boys from Do Not Scratch Your Eyes. We've got two for the price of one tonight. Justin and Pete, how are you doing, boys?
All good, mate. All good.
We're good. Looking forward to talking about last year's 1-1 inevitable defeat.
Justin, let's start with you. Lee, talk to me about last season first. We talked about the 2-1-1 draws ourselves, but I imagine there was a failure on the expectation. You came down, so I assume there was an expectation to be at the right end of the table, and that obviously didn't pan out. Is that a fair assessment, or did you expect what you got?
No, it's a fair assessment, really. Well, I think at the beginning of the season, certainly there was an expectation that we were going to end up higher than we did, but it became inevitable when another head coach got sacked and another head coach got sacked, and you've got Chris Wilder at the end of the season, and you're not winning games and you're losing games that you would normally expect to win or draw. So, I think we were still in touching distance of the playoffs almost until the end. But I think realistically, we would have looked at that and gone, nah, we're nowhere near. Take an absolute miracle to pull that off. So, yeah, it was a disappointing season. And so far, we've had 5 games undefeated, and we've won a couple of games, but you're thinking, no, we're way off. We're way off. So, I think that's an honest assessment, Peter, don't you? Or am I being my usual pessimistic self on this?
Oh, if you weren't being your usual pessimistic self, I'd jump all over it. But no, it's yeah, fairly so. We, this season we have a much smaller budget. Last season we had players like Hamza Chowdhury, we had Keenan Davis, we had Ismail Assar, we had João Pedro, we had what on paper was an embarrassment of riches, what on grass was an embarrassment of a team. It was never ever more than the sum of its parts. This year we've absolutely shredded the budget. I mean, completely shredded the budget. And occasionally, we've almost got to become the sum of the parts of the team, but very, very rarely. But it feels a bit better and like it might go that way. And of course, we haven't fired a manager. We have never had the moral high ground before. Justin and I just don't know what to do.
In fact, we've given him an improved contract. I mean, it's just...
when they came up with club statement, did you just think, here we go, this is it again?
I think they did that on purpose, because everybody grabbed their phone and went, what? And then went, hey, what? How did he do that? So, yeah, no, it was a bit of a moment, but yeah, he's still there. Foul's still there. Yeah, we're getting used to seeing him around now.
Talk to me about Ishmael P. He's actually been there for a very long time in terms of in Watford years.
Years. Oh, nicely played, Matt. Well done.
Does he seem like a good fit? He seems like it didn't work at West Brom, but it worked an absolute treat at Barnsley. Maybe needs his own setup. Can you see something there working long term?
I think most people. I mean, don't get me wrong. There will be one or two, fans who'll go, I don't like what he does. I've never liked what he does, and I don't want him. That every club's got them. A village is missing one somewhere. We've got him. However, he is he talks very well. He comes out. He seemingly wants to be there. He is trying to change the culture. We have had about 4 to 5 years / a decade of an absolutely toxic culture in the dressing room, and he is trying to enforce that dressing room discipline. And so far, we have publicly dropped people from the team to the bench, or from the bench out of the matchday squad for 4 late appearances. And these aren't late appearances because anybody who knows Watford, it's near the M1 and the M25. If traffic moves, there's something wrong normally. So turning up late for work is not the issue. But if you've been in the ground, if you've been in the training ground since 9 o'clock, turning up for a 2 o'clock appointment, a team meeting at 2:20, that ain't up to snuff. So at the moment, we kind of, the first time we saw it, we went, okay, great, respect. He's going to try and do that. Last week, we dropped Kone to the bench, and it was the 4th time. And at some point, people will start to go, well, have you got the respect of the dressing room if people are doing this continually, getting themselves pushed from, as I say, from the pitch to the bench, or the bench off of the matchday squad? I think most people would like to see that work. I think his big problem is the fact that all of the kind of football that he played at West Brom and all the football that he tried to play at Barnsley and even at Besiktas to a certain extent, he has not got those players here. He has not got those players at Watford. We have, as I've said, shredded the budget. I mean, we could say it's been, we've changed policy or we've done this, we've done since the window closed. We've sacked our senior scout, technical director, person who was supposed to bring everything in. So the question becomes not are the supporters supporting Ishmael, but are the board supporting Ishmael? And the answer is realistically, yes and a no. One, they haven't sacked him. They've given him a new contract when he's been lower than every other manager who's been jettisoned after like 10 games ago, but so they've kept with him there, but they haven't given him a team that would play in a way that you would expect Ishmael's teams to play. So it's kind of interesting. Most Watford fans, though, would like to get through the season with the same manager in place, because that's not what any club wants to be just known for. That we just fire them constantly, and it means that you've got somebody who's coming in trying to change the culture, turn the ship around. Chris Wilder was our third last season, and when asked when he knew it was an unworkable task, he said 10 minutes into the QPR game. The QPR game was Chris Wilder's first game. And then he knew what he'd got. And that's the problem. And that's the size of the Titanic-shaped issue that we're trying to turn around.
Justin, Pete mentions the budget was being slashed. Is this a sign of the owners just getting bored with what they're doing? Are they just trying to run a tight ship and try and be a bit more sensible? Or is it difficult to understand what they're trying to do?
All of that, really. They stated that they want to be debt-free by the end of this season, and then you have to then go into what debt means to the owners, because the owners actually have got a lot of their own money in the club, which isn't kind of counted as debt, and there's all kinds of things going around that. It is frustrating when you're seeing Pedro going off for tens of millions of pounds and Sarr going off for quite large sums, and then you get 50 grand Tom Ince as a replacement. That rankles a little bit. There's always talk about, we're going to spend in January. Invariably, we never spend in January. We don't. So it is a bit odd, the whole financials thing. But if we are going to be debt free by the end of the year, that's good. Is he doing this to sell? I mean, we don't know. He could be doing this to get the ship in good shape before he flogs it on. So I don't know. There's a sort of a swell of discontent with the owners that reached a peak at the end of last season. There was starting to be some demonstrations, low key, but people bringing in banners and things like that. And there's still an undercurrent of that. It kind of moved away a little bit because he did meet the fans for the first time in 11 years of owning the club in June. Something that we were instrumental in trying to sort of organise. So that kind of gave him a bit of, okay, all right, you've met the fans. We've seen the whites of your eyes. We'll give you another chance. But, another manager sacking or another, run of bad results, or he's on thinnest of ice, I think.
I think the other thing is that you've seen John Eustace obviously be jettisoned by Birmingham on the basis that Wayne Rooney is going to be brilliant because he's been in America. Great plan. You've seen Paul Robinson, who is an absolute legend still at Watford, go from Millwall. A lot of people are looking at those two and going, could this actually, in the international break, which is always when Gino does all his best wet work, it's kind of, people are dispatched and then somebody's shuffled in before, literally within half an hour, typically, whether or not John Eustace might be brought in and Paul Robinson, but that's done on no more basis than the fact that suddenly they're available. There's no more rumour coming out of the club than that. Is he selling the club? With Watford, there's always a bigger picture, because the debt is not just debt. It's also, we are part of a group which also includes Udinese. Udinese also basically owe the equivalent of the Mexican national debt. But again, we don't know how that's, because the club go, oh no, we don't consider that debt. We don't consider the debt owed to the owner as debt, and we don't consider debt because we've borrowed something against future transfer payments to be debt, which is kind of funny, really, because HMRC tend to, so you might want to reconsider that, but never mind. So they're looking at their operational debt and what that would mean. But you then have to look at Udinese. Udinese is run by Gino Pozzo's dad, Gianpaolo Pozzo. I think he's about 83 at the moment. Okay. So at some point there is going to come a passing of the torch, and as they have done with Udinese, they have done at Watford. They have brought the figures right down. Whether that means it's in a point for him to go over there and start something off, or whether it will carry on. His sister's involved somewhere in the family thing. We just don't know. But we just watch this space.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to this season, Pete. You're sitting 16th at the minute, 18 points on like you say, a little bit of an unbeaten run. Mm-hmm. How are you feeling about the season so far? Very many things you mentioned about the cutting of the cloth and everything else. Is that about where you expected, or are you still a little bit below than you thought?
I think we're lower than we thought. I think most people looked at the squad that we've got, because we didn't bring anybody in of any note, really, other than, we brought in Tom Ince, who's quite well known, and it's a bit unfair, obviously, for him, because constantly he gets the £50,000 tag, and actually he hasn't done very much. He's scored a couple of goals and he's kind of been in and around, but for 50 grand, what the heck are you expecting? We've got a lad called Mileta Rajovic, who's come in, scored 4 goals, but as a 6'3", kind of Viking centre forward, does nothing unless he's basically put on his head in the box, or in there, does nothing in the build-up play. So we've got, there's issues. We have not seen any consistency, whether we play well or whether we play badly, with the exception of playing QPR for the first 45 minutes of the season, which lulled us all into a wonderful false sense of security because we were 4-0 up by half time. And then we worked out, oh no, they're just really, really bad. What's commonly now known as the Gareth Ainsworth effect. It was no. Other than that, we've just kind of fallen away since the start of the season into a listless lack of identity, which we thought at the start of the season we were going to get with Val. A lot of people are saying, could we mix it up a bit more? Could we be a bit more direct? We played Huddersfield last week. It was 0-0. They had about 140 players unavailable to them. We had a completely fresh squad, and with about 2 minutes of extra time left to play, or added time added on, with Huddersfield showing no intention at all of moving out of their half or even out of their penalty box. The 2 centre-backs basically just kind of walked up the pitch, passing to one another, and it's like, no, the goal is still down the other end. Get a move on. I think some level of directness would be great, because that's what you would associate with Val, but Val Ismail, as we call him. But he hasn't got those players. He hasn't really got a player that he can, the likes of a Daryl DK, who is both powerful running in behind, but it can also get up, shield the ball, bring other players in. But we've still got some good players to watch. On Saturday, you'll see Matthias Martins, I would imagine, down the left-hand side, or Ken Sema. One goes on the outside. Matthias Martins is an inverted winger playing on the left. A lot of people would like to have seen him against Huddersfield because he's good at unlocking those defences. And we've got young Yasser Asprilla on the right, or Tom Ince, both again invert. And I think that's been the big frustration. We haven't really created width because we play a 4-3-3 and our wingers invert, and therefore they cut in all the time. The few times when we do get to the byline, which is mainly from Ken Sema if he's playing on the left, you tug the defence about, you get to the byline, you pull it back, goals are scored. Guess what's happened when we've finally done that? So we'd like to see a little bit more of that, or many people would either direct this or kind of uninvert the wingers, uninvert the 2 number 8s behind them, perhaps. But it seems to be that what we've got is a team of impact substitutes. Everybody looks great when they come on. Everybody looks hopeless when they start. Nobody is prepared to take a game by the scruff of the neck, and we're fairly leaderless, with the exception of, in the last 4 to 5 games, Jake Livermore in the central defensive midfield has finally woken up and remembered he's a professional football player, or has got the fitness and got to where he needs to be, because he's done very well in that particular role recently, which is nice, and it frees up other players to move into other positions.
I forgot you had Tom Ince. I think he scored more goals against Rotherham than anybody else I have to double check that. His
well,
record against us is excellent.
we mainly bought him because if I tell you what, if we're not first on that table, we're second behind you because I think he scored something like 9 goals against us when we signed him. The Watford comms team, in their infinite level of judgment, put on a collection on our website of goals Tom Ince scored against us. Not necessarily the best thing to really, get the son of Paul Ince into my good books in any way, shape, or form. But he's done all right. When he's played, he's put it in. In fairness, he's quite tidy. He keeps the ball okay. But there's been games when he's not there, but neither is anybody else.
Moving on to Saturday, Justin, we talked on your show the other day about our away record. I suspect we will sit in and try and hope to break or something like that. Will that suit you guys? But although listening to what Peter said about Huddersfield game, maybe that's not what you want to hear. That you maybe want us to be a bit more proactive, maybe.
Well, I don't know really. I think that we're playing very ponderous football at the moment. It seems to be a lot of tapping it around at the back and getting it forward gradually and then trying to walk it in, which doesn't seem to be yielding that many goals. So if you can cope against that, and also if you can put pressure on Daniel Bachmann, because there's a lot of playing out from our goalkeeper, and he's not at all comfortable with that. He does look as if he's getting a little bit better at it, but it's just waiting to happen. It's like it's like a lorry that's sort of meandering. You go, it's going to go in a minute. It's going to fall over. So yeah, I don't. I mean, to be honest, I haven't seen any team tear us apart from Leeds. I would say I thought they were brutal.
Sunderland could have
done
us for fun. We were just didn't turn up. We were awful.
Yeah, that's true. And a lot of the games really that I've seen every game this season. Boring. A lot of it's very, very boring because there's just no attacking direct threat from Watford. So if you can cope against that and just do a counter attack or just capitalise on a mistake at the back from Bachmann, you can get the odd goal here or there. I think it's going to be a very low scoring game. Really, I mean, you said the other day when we spoke to you, the most you scored in a game this season is 2, right?
Yes.
That's the most you scored in a game. So the most we've scored is 4, but that was on the opening game of the season.
And since against QPR, so it don't count, does it?
It was QPR, and I can't think we've scored. Have we scored 1 and 2 in a game since then?
We scored 3 at Coventry, but that day we were playing.
It was a 3-3 draw, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it was a 3-3 draw. So
before the last international break, Valball, as it's called, had a suicide option, which Justin alluded to there, which was basically Ryan Porteous, who's done great things in the English in the Scottish national squad, Wesley Hoot, left-sided winger, and Daniel Bachmann were honestly, Keystone Cops had nothing on these guys. In fairness to him and to Daniel, to them and to Daniel Bachmann in general, since the last international break, they have stopped cocking about quite so much as they were, and under such tight conditions. It was genuinely just suicidal. They seem to have kind of sorted that out a little bit, but as per when you said if you sit deep, it frustrated the hell out of us last week. Val didn't have anything up his sleeve, even though he had a number of options there to kind of shape it up and to change it. So, yes, I think that would be a very viable game plan, and to hit us on the break. Blackburn did us that way earlier on in the season. They had absolutely nothing, and then a single penetrative ball followed by a run, and in fairness, a great bit of skill by the Blackburn lad before he finished it. And before Daniel Bachmann at the time was vacating his near post as somehow toxic, it was it was exactly what you just described. Huddersfield could have done us for fun had they had any intention of breaking, and had they not had somebody playing up front who was 6'9". I mean, I imagine his second job is basically getting cats out of trees, because he certainly isn't a footballer. But they didn't have anything. If they'd have counted on us, we would have been left wide open. But we just seemed to be happy to go and get a draw. They were delighted to go and get a draw, and it was just dull as anything. So we hope that the Millers coming to Watford will at least be a ding dong battle, because that's what you want from the Championship. Nobody comes in wanting to expect to see highly technical 0-0 draws at the McAlpine John Smith or whatever they're calling it these days.
I agree. I completely agree. Let's do some predictions. Justin, How is what's your prediction for Saturday afternoon, please?
Well, I think it's going to be very low scoring. It's going to be you. I'd warn anybody coming down that please bring some coffee with you or something, because you are likely to fall asleep. Stimulants, legal stimulants. Bring them with you. I think we might just squeeze a win. It might be 1-0 Watford, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a draw. I mean, it's not going to be high scoring. 1-0 Watford, I'll go for.
We're not selling it very well. If there's anybody umming and ahhing about going to the game and watching this, they're not going to go, are they?
Well, I can't even give you any Watford attractions really to encourage you to come down early, because there is very little. It's quite a nice shopping centre. That's about it, really. So it's a nice park. Glastonbury's quite nice.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's not going to be entertaining, I promise.
Justin is head of tourism for the Watford County.
Yeah, I'm thinking of running as mayor once Peter Taylor resigns. Yeah.
Pete, what do you reckon? What's your prediction for Saturday afternoon?
Well, first of all, I have to say we spoke about Nombe because the other day when you came on, and I mispronounced his name. I can't remember what I called him, Noom or something strange, and you corrected me. And of course, what does he do yesterday? That's a good result. But actually, Ipswich are a League One side who have come up, had a couple of little reinforcements. I really don't think this division is very good. I really don't this season. So I think it only takes a team to muster a little bit to really get a head up of steam. I'm going to hope that we actually get a reaction from the defeat, because the fans certainly reacted. The papers have even kind of weighed in and had a go, which is pretty much now the official mouthpiece of the club, it seems. In terms of you get everything from the dressing room almost before the game's finished. He's right in there, which is great. I'm going to go that we are going to win 3-1 on the basis of purest optimism. And the fact that in the first few, I think it was in the first 3 or 4 games, we hadn't conceded a goal and we were doing really well. And I think I said, oh, yeah, no, we're going to keep a clean sheet. And then we drew 3-3 at Coventry and everything went berserk. I reckon it'll be a berserk day.
Can I ask you, Peter, is this coming before the change on 60 minutes or after the change on 60 minutes, these goals?
I would suggest the first goal will come in the first half by probably some form of defensive lapse. And then the next 3 goals will come presumably after the 60-minute change. Not that we're saying Val's substitutions are in any way predictable, but if he makes 3 substitutes on or around the 60-minute mark, me and Justin are in the money.
Yeah, we'll be waving at you going, told you. See?
There you go. We got it on the ACCA.
If anyone else check out, just let everyone know where you guys are and maybe podcast and where they can find you guys as. We got
a website, donotscratchyoureyes.com. We're on any kind of podcasting platform, Spotify or Apple or Amazon or Kindle. Not Kindle. What's the whatever the book one is?
Kindle?
Yeah, no, the book one. What's the book one called? The audio book one.
The audio book one. Audible.
Yeah. Audible. Yeah. I nearly had to open my app to find it. Carl, I know. Carl does a vlog on YouTube as well. So we're pretty much everywhere in your face. So yeah, if you want to check us out, there you go.
We basically just mess around and don't really take very seriously. It's Watford.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You have to find other amusement, unfortunately.
Yeah. Try living in a town full of Arsenal, Chelsea, and Tottenham supporters, and then trying to take everything seriously.
Yeah. No wonder we talk about takeaways and stuff more on our podcast than anything else. Favorite takeaway. Do check us out. It's not all that bad.
Yeah, if you want to listen to a dog make a prediction or some backgammon dice make a prediction, this is the show for you guys.
It's our USP, mate.
Dogs making predictions. It's all going to be part of the King's Speech, football regulation. It's going to be enforced by law that Cocker Spaniels should be doing this kind of thing. Dogs are vastly underrepresented on podcasts, so we're trying to do our bit for that.
Yeah, and he's higher than me in the prediction league. So
he's higher than both of the other idiots.
Yeah, unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
There's a long way to go, Justin. We're not even halfway through the season. There's time.
I know, but he'll be champion, and I'll be right at the bottom. If you haven't seen it, okay, the concept is that Jarvis, the Cocker Spaniel, knocks over cups, and the number inside the cup is the home or whatever it is, the first score, and then he knocks another, so he might knock over a 3-2, and it's 3-2 to Watford or whatever. That is beating me on a prediction league.
And he's played 3 less games, and he's predicted Watford 2, Rotherham 5. So everybody, Jarvis Cocker Spaniel, he's a Miller at the heart. We know this.
He's a good boy. He's a good dog.
He's a good boy.
So, thank you, boys, for coming on. Thank you, everybody who is watching. Please subscribe to the YouTube and like the video if you can, and check these boys out as well. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Pete.
God bless you. Cheers, mate. See ya.